I grew up in Zimbabwe in the 60s and 70s, during the apartheid years and the so-called Rhodesian Bush War, where the white male youth was pitted against the black terrorists or freedom fighters, depending on your point of view. I married into the Bristow family in the 90s. The Bristows have owned a beautiful 80,000 hectare ranch on the great grey, green, greasy Limpopo River for 2 generations. This stretch of semi-arid sandstone wilderness still hosts large herds of elephants, elands, zebra, giraffe. It is also the site of one of the best examples of Massospondalis fossils, unique Bushman paintings, and many other archaeological treasures. John Bristow bought the farm in the 50s from the then Rhodesian government. His family and their children have been holidaying there for 2 generations.
That's not our problem.
This is the spine here, with a few ribs. These are the legs coming down here. The feet there. The other part of the tail, or a finger. It was omnivorous. That means it ate both meat and plants.
And do you think there is a head here?
No, I don't think so.
5 years ago, Robert Mugabe's legendary farm invasions resulted in swarms of war veterans and their cattle invading the farm, taking over homesteads, and setting up temporary settlements. The Bristows were evicted from their home their father had built and watched their sensitive ecosystem being overgrazed by cattle and their homes falling into disrepair.
Well, they claim that they, through the fighting struggle that they did, that they were promised the land. And in that way, they then feel that it's their reward.
And they moved on and set up camps in the northern part of the farm, and set up another camp on the east, and another camp in the middle of the farm, in places where they said they used to have villages.
You know, we don't feel guilty. We've done nothing wrong either. I mean, we might have got ourselves mixed up in a political situation, but I'm not feeling guilty that I own a piece of land in Zimbabwe.
Your father paid for it?
Absolutely.
This didn't last long because they got so dry that they couldn't run their cattle on the place.
The cattle could not be sustained on the arid veldt, and finally the war veterans gave in and turned to the Bristows. A joint hunting venture was then established.
Yeah, when they saw that this cattle thing wasn't working, then I was approached, and being a safari operator in the area, and they invited me back onto the farm and asked me whether I could bring business back to the property, but under their conditions. They wanted to share part of the profit.
And is that what's happening now?
Yeah, it's happening.
One homestead had been taken over by one of the war vets, and the other homestead is being occupied by the police. It's not just us. All the white farming communities in the whole of Zimbabwe are under the same pressure. So one feels one is in a situation that's happening. It's a political situation out of one's hand. But obviously, it's just like someone moving into your house and taking over and telling you to move out, and you've got no recourse to the law.
While the houses were not returned to the Bristow family, they were able to return to the hunting camp, and the family holidays resumed. on one of these holidays that I met Carly. Carly is an Ndebele man of my age. We both grew up in what was then Rhodesia, but we could not have had more different experiences of the same country. Here was a man we had greatly feared as children. Here was a man we had locked our doors against and sent our brothers and fathers to fight against. Our conversation was limited by my total lack of Ndebele and his rusty English, but slowly his story seeped out. Carly grew up in rural Matabele land and was recruited in the 70s by the Zipra forces with promises of money and land.
They were talking about money. They said that if you go there, you are going to get a lot of money.
He left his family with no explanation and headed for training camps in Tanzania. The horrors of these camps are well known, and there, with 800 men and 6 women, he trained for a year and a half. They were not paid as they had been promised, but threatened with death for desertion.
We were forced to stay there because if you run away, you came here, then you are going to be killed.
And they were forbidden to contact their families in any way. When training ended, the real horror began. In groups of 15, they headed back into Zimbabwe. With makeshift rafts, they crossed the heavily patrolled Zambezi River at the famous Victoria Falls. Many of them were lost to crocodiles, drownings, and the Rhodesian forces.
We were cutting trees. Then we do like
a raft.
Yeah, then you get inside. But some people, they've died, they've gone.
They were drowned in the river.
Yeah.
So you feel lucky to have survived that. Once in the country, they took on the skilled and well-equipped Rhodesian army, living on meagre rations of tinned food, unable to make fires or enter any of the surrounding villages.
You are not allowed to go to stay at the village.
Because the villagers would get
Yeah.
hammered.
People, they can go and tell the forces that there is a terrorist there.
There were no medical supplies or rescue vehicles. The severely wounded were put out of their misery by their comrades.
If we see that you are giving us a problem, we shoot you.
Those who could walk were taken to Botswana on foot. Carly's career as an active guerrilla ended when his group were wiped out near Wangi. He survived with a shattered arm and managed to hide in the Matetsi River. So you were shot, the bullet went in where? Here?
Yeah, started here. Then
Went through there.
Yeah, there is nothing.
All that muscle was blown out.
I get inside the river, when whatever I see, then I sleep there just.
You slept in the river?
Yeah, I've suffered a lot, almost about 10 days to reach it Botswana.
Finally, weak from a rotting arm, he walked to Botswana and took a truck to Zambia, where he finally reached a very poor hospital. When he recovered, he went to Cuba and became a military instructor. When Mugabe came to power in the 80s, the Matabele Zipra forces, reluctantly and cautiously, came back, afraid that Mugabe would not welcome them into the new Zimbabwe. They were given meager financial rewards and no form of rehabilitation. Carly, like so many white and black Zimbabweans, had lost his youth. As it turns out, his fears were not unfounded. Several years after independence, many Matabele families were slaughtered in a terrible genocide carried out by Mugabe. Carly's family were victims of this massacre.
My cousin and my sister.
Your sister
Yeah.
were killed.
Yeah.
Carly does not feel that he owns Sentinel Ranch, but that his stay here is temporary. His family and his livestock remain in his homelands, and he wants to see what the Mugabe regime will do next.
So we here, we like to stay with you.
Together,
Yeah.
farm together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we black, we have no money. You can see things are fact. No.
The truth is, the war veterans don't even have money to put diesel in a vehicle, and they don't have vehicles. Ideally, they would like to see the Bristow's and the war veterans farming together, perhaps helping with schooling and helping to teach them the skills they need to run an operation here. Talking to him here now, it's hard to imagine that anyone owns this ancient piece of land, which still carries remnants of the dinosaurs, the bushmen. Suddenly the idea that so much anguish and death and war all over this temporary ownership of land seems absurd. Carly seems to know this intuitively, and there is a look of humour in his eyes as he invites us all to come back and live on Sentinel together.
That we want whites back here to Zimbabwe. Only we can change the system, but whites we want them back. Like today, so we have stayed together with me and you. Yeah, it's good.
And what about your children? What jobs are there in this country for people? It's very difficult.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
And you gave your whole life
Yes.
for the struggle. Now look.
But
Eh?
still, even today I'm suffering. I must come. I want you.
I don't really want to share a house with two other families, I explain. He laughs and nods empathetically.
I think he's an opportunist. I think these things come up. Okay, of course, he was the enemy during the war. He fought against the white Zimbabweans, so obviously there was coming from different areas. But and now situations arrived where he is, with the backing of the government, allowed to occupy a farm. I think you and I'd probably do the same thing, because you have nothing and you've given something for free, you're going to take it.
No, my husband doesn't feel the same way. He gets quite angry when I empathise with Carly, and he's not happy about the fact that we formed a friendship. He sees him as an invader of his privacy, of his home. No, it was very difficult. I mean, this is a place we've been holidaying in with our children, where my husband had holidayed as a child, and our family home. And now there are policemen living in it. They've pulled down the curtains. They've made fires in the living room floor. It's extremely hard. It was very difficult, and it's easy to feel anger towards these people. So the whole Rhodesian Bush War was fought over land. These land invasions now, which have ruined so many lives, is all about owning the land. Does it really belong to anyone? Perhaps it belongs to the Bushmen. Wars were fought in those days between the Shona and the Ndebele. Perhaps it just belongs to the elephants. They've been around the longest.